Hello Periscope. Today we're going to do a live installation of Periscope on your PC. I'm going to be using Macintosh. Windows instructions should be similar. This might take 15 or 20 minutes. Hello everybody. Good afternoon. We're live from New York. Um, so we're going to do a Periscope install. I'll wait a minute to get some other people in so we could start from the beginning. Installation is going to be on the Macintosh today, but the instructions, I believe, should be almost similar when you're using other computers. Obviously, the top computer would be Windows. I don't have a window installation this very second, but if it turns out to be different enough, I could get an installation to do it. But it'll be similar. There's also Linux machines and other machines. We'll see a list of some of them at the bottom of one of the pages when we go into it. So again, we're going to be installing Periscope on the PC. This is not talking about using a phone. It's not talking about using a tablet. It's not talking about using a mirroring technique. There's a way to capture video from your phone on your computer, and that way you can get copies of your scoping, or at least view them on your computer. We're talking about actually installing Android and then installing Periscope on top of that, and running underneath your, in my case, OS X. But it'll work with Linux, Ubuntu, and some of the other systems you have. So we're going to be running what's called a virtual sandbox of Android. There's a company called Genymotion, at least that's how I pronounce it, that lets you run, where we can run Android in what's called a virtual machine. So it's software working with the hardware to enable your computer to do that. And so in other words, again, most people are familiar with either OS X or Windows. And you can have another operating system literally running underneath your current operating system. So in this case, we're going to install an Android from a third-party company. It's not coming from Google. It's coming from Genymotion. It's going to be, in the case of today, it's going to be installed under a virtual computer machine called VirtualBox. Hey, Noam, how you doing? So I had a few dead ends trying to get the installation to work, but I finally had a breakthrough here and there, and turns out some of the information is on the internet, but it's kind of all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I wrote up a little document which I just tweeted out to my Twitter account, which is what's on the screen right now. This here. Okay, so that document is now currently on Twitter. So for the technically inclined, you can start going at this. I'm going to wait another minute or two for a person or two to join, because what I don't want to do is get halfway through and everybody keeps saying, like, how did you do this? How did you start it? And things like that. So I'm just going to kind of spend 5 minutes just blabbing for a bit. So what I really want to do was get the Google Play Store installed, so that I can install other Android applications in this Android virtual machine. I couldn't find the right Android to match with the right application, the Android application set. So what I eventually had to do was just install Periscope by itself. Yeah, I know, but well, I don't know how, it's saying 2 right now, so I wouldn't mind having more than two viewers. So that's the bad news and the good news. So the bad news is that still like the Google Play to be working, so that I can install other applications on and run it on the Macintosh, including one's social media stuff and so on as well. And there's some errors pop up after this installation still occurred. So this is not with warts. There's still a few warts. The major wart is that the camera doesn't work. But When I tried it, the camera light goes on, so it's definitely accessing the port, and I could swear my image came up for just the tiniest millisecond. So it seems like it's able to get at the port with the camera on it. So my feeling is somebody will eventually figure it out. As far as I know, this Geniscope Android machine keeps a log. Um, yeah, that's exactly what I did. So we'll see that in the instructions. Yeah, this should take I hope about 15 to 20 minutes. Um, I guess if there's questions, it'll take longer. And as with all demos, um, as with all demos, something's no doubt going to go wrong. Um, my phone's totally freaking out. Just half an hour ago, my browser froze up, so uh, it's silliness all the time with technology. Um, and even considering that, it's amazing that some of this even works sometimes, given how screwed up things are sometimes. So and I wish Periscope itself has a few problems and a few bugs I wish they would solve. There's just some of it even seems obvious. So I don't know why there's not another version. Um, and even the version that's on my phone here seems to be different than the version that gets downloaded from the APK. Um, yeah, I tried a few things, uh, but I couldn't get any of it to work. Um, oh, you mean on the iPhone? Yes, yes, I did that. Um, yeah, that has to be a bug. I don't know what it's doing there. I think it because you can also save to your camera roll, and I think that it's sloppy programming, right on the phone. Yeah, I deleted it. It was using up, I think, almost up to 2 gig at one point. Um, Beats me. It should. I'm fine if it does buffering and so on, but once the scope is over, then delete it. And the next time it starts up, it should have some sort of garbage collection technique where it's figuring out um, what what it doesn't need anymore. Um, I mean, kind of, it's good to have what's called lazy evaluation, which is that is if you left the scope and you came back, theoretically you could just continue on without needing to download it all again. But that's pushing it. Go when you're hitting that much memory, it's being sloppy somehow. Um, there's other things like I think anytime it crashes, it fails to clean up. Yeah, I think you're right. So the deleting it completely and then reinstalling it is seems to work. There's other stuff too, like when you start up a scope, you have the capability. Yeah, it seems to be. You have the capability to have it posted on your Twitter account as well, and I don't think that works. In fact, I think it creates another problem, which is it doesn't invite your followers. So not only does it not post on Twitter, but it doesn't invite your followers. And I can't figure out why. And I got some weird error message. I have to look it up. Um, so there's that. Bling Gnome joined. You were just there, so it's probably another bug. Um, and there's also delays and typing and so on. I was in a scope the other day with somebody else was there, and I swear my messages are coming 5 minutes later. I thought the person was ignoring me. Not that they need to answer me, but yeah, yeah. And in fact, that same scope, I was dumped from that person's scope about 30 times, I think. So, all right. So what I think I'm going to do is just start this up. So, whoops, what did I do? Did I just log out? No. So what we're going to do is start this up, and whoever joins, joins or not. So what I did was I scripted it, and I'm going to scroll through it. Whoops. I'm going to scroll through it, and this same document I'm looking through is the HTML form. I also posted it in PDF form to my Twitter account. So if you go onto Twitter, there's this connection right here, right now. So if I was to come onto here, then that's the same document I'm looking at through HTML. Um, Now you can ask questions as we go through it. That shouldn't be a problem. It's pretty obvious. In fact, what you stated already about the APK means you know um, what's happening already. So let me back this off so we can get a full screen somehow. I have one of these kind of it's a phone holder with like two giant clothespins on either side. So I can position this anywhere, but it wiggles often and it pops off often enough. In fact, I'd recommend it to people. All right, this might be the best one to get. So the first caveat is that this may or may not work for you. It worked for me, and if you install it, it's at your own consideration. It has nothing to do with me. If you want to install it, you install it. If you don't, you don't. If you just find it's curious, then it's curious. Okay. This is Mac centric. Okay, I'm installing this on a Macintosh under OS X. I'm assuming it works under Windows and Linux very closely to what we're describing. The details matter, and the details may be enough to stop you from doing it because even a minor detail, when it's technical, could be a big difference. I didn't invent what I'm going to be describing it to you. I just kind of pieced it together from the internet. Okay. So just think that I'm doing this. I have 10.11.1. I'm running El Capitan. But it should still work. And I think when we get to the Jenny Motion and virtual box things, it's going to ask which version you had, or it auto figures it out. I can't remember. And so that's why I'm assuming if you install it, say, under Windows, it'll also auto figure it out as well. Kind of like when you download Flash, it says you need a Flash. It kind of knows what to do. It figures some of it out. You can also guide it and tell it which version you have. And of course, if it crashes, which again is why we have this caveat, because it's up to you guys to do it. Okay, so you need an internet connection to do this. You're going to be downloading like 290 megabyte files, and once you get the Jenny Motion, which is the Android virtual machine sandbox system loaded, it's going to download virtual Androids over the Jenny Motion service. So you need an internet connection. Of course, you also need an internet connection once Android is installed to download Periscope through Android. Okay. So again, this is live, so something's probably going to go wrong. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to download the VirtualBox. So we're going to go to this location here, VirtualBox Wiki Downloads. And it has a list of different stuff that you can load. Okay. So there's different stuff. There's Solaris for old Sun computers. There's OS X. There's Windows. And if you notice, the Linux one is blue lines because there's probably a diversity of Linuxes, and they have a few different versions of it. There's also an SDK and other stuff here. Okay, we're not going to be concerned with any of those at the moment. So what you can do is click on the OS X one. So let me put this back into the little clip holder thing. Click on the OS X one. It's going to download something. You can see the little line going down there. It's downloading it for me. And then it pops up. So I have a little disk image now down there. Right down here. Whoops, my hand is causing the phone's, what do you call it? Causing the phone's lightness detector to go off. Okay, so that's that. So that's going to do the download. And the current version right now today, as of March 24th or whatever we're at, what are we at? March 25th, is this is the file name for it. So if this, I'm going to post this all on YouTube as well. I'm going to download the scope and post it on YouTube. And I'm going to post the scope on YouTube. And if this exists a year later from now, okay, she's coming now. All right. I'm talking to somebody else, not you guys. So I'm semi-disfocused for a second. So the current version is that, and a year from now it might be a different one. So the names I'm giving you here might change, including the download directory. So the idea is to get the free copy of VirtualBox from the VirtualBox site. Okay, whatever it names it, if you look in your Finder, in my case, it's going to my downloads directory. So I already had this one here. And it just downloaded a second one. They should both be the same size they are. So whatever calls it, make a note of it right now so you know where it is. Because later on we're going to install it. Technically I could have had you install it right now, but I just wanted to make sure everybody could do the downloads because if you have a slow connection or whatever. And we're going to call, what I'm going to call this DMG, this disk image file, this whole line here is a VirtualBox disk image. Okay, it's about 90 megabyte. Note where it's saving it on your computer. Note the file name down. Okay, and again, this is the snapshot of this file as of today. Okay, so the VirtualBox website might change, or the Oracle one. So adjust accordingly. If it changes, it's nobody's fault. It's not Oracle's, it's not mine. So we're going to do the same thing with Genymotion. The Genymotion info is a little more confusing, because you have to actually log into Genymotion and get an account. And there's a few steps to getting to it. So we go to Genymotion. Okay, so we get a screen like this. So there's a couple of steps we have to go through. You're going to choose a plan. Once you get to that page, you're going to do I think it's commercial or something versus individual, and then you're going to see a basic choice and a free for personal use only choice, and then you're going to click the Get Started button. So there's a few buttons to click on. So the first is we're going to go to this Choose a Plan right here. We're going to choose that. Okay, there's Enterprise and Business under the Enterprise tab. Now you have to go to Individual over here, up in the top here. See it? Click on that. Okay, and now there's Indie and Basic. Indie and Basic. So under Basic, there's this Get Started. See, it says it's free. So you're going to click on that. Okay, it's going to want you to sign in and create an account. So what I'm going to do is sign in. You guys are going to create an account. What I do wrong here? Is it my email? No, I must have typed the password wrong. All right, this is one of the cases where the thing goes wrong. typo. Let me try it over in case there's a space there. All right, there we go. All right, so you do not need to get a license unless you need to get a license. I had a stopgap in doing this, and it set me back a day or two because I thought it said it was free for personal use, and then it was asking for licensing, including once I finally downloaded and successfully installed this Genymotion sandbox. So what you can eventually do, let me see here. So you can eventually be here. I think you guys go straight there. So let me go there. I think it brings you straight there. So the good news is this is where I think it auto detects what I have. It knows what I have right there. Okay, see the how to register my license? Again, if it's free for personal use, you don't need to be doing that. There are system requirements. They're pretty minimal. You need 400 megabyte free disk space, I guess, for the files and the virtual machines when they finally get there, and 2 gigabyte of RAM. As usual, system requirements are minimums. So there's stuff like that. Okay, so you're going to click the download for Mac OS X, and it's going to bring you down. It's going to do the download. And you're going to get a Genymotion 2.6.0 machine file. It's going to end up being called. Okay, so it's going to be at 85 megabytes. When you download click to download. Okay, we're going to, like earlier we called the VirtualBox one, the VirtualBox disk image. I'm going to call this just the Genymotion disk image. And again, this is the file name that it downloads. So you can find that in your Finder. Okay, we can eventually double click on these and load these disk images and do the installations from these. So again, this is as of today. Okay, in a year from now, it might be a different file name. I guess this is the version number, but however they name it or do it, or from whatever the thing, again, even up here, this may change eventually. Okay. And if you look down the page on this, it talks about other systems. There's a download for Windows with VirtualBox and without a VirtualBox. So I think the download for VirtualBox doesn't mean you don't need a virtual computer underneath it, because this is 143 megabytes and this is 34. Because this probably works with there's other virtual machines that you can download that some of this software will run under. So we're only talking about Genymotion running under VirtualBox. I'm not talking about it running under anything else or stuff like that. There's also Linuxes here, right? 3 different versions of Linux. And some of these are generic, even though they're named specific here. They can also work on other Linuxes. So figure out there's a 32-bit one, a 64, and a 64. So this is where the variation, the line in the sand is. I'm specifically downloaded for Mac OS. I already did that. And if you have others, I think the instructions will probably vary from this point on. And again, if you're not using VirtualBox, for Windows, you're going to download this one. Okay, because you may have something else like parallel software, or there's BlueStack, I think it's called, and some other ones. So anyway, I downloaded that, so we're finished with this step. You're done with being at the Genymotion website. Okay, so again, wherever it puts this DMG image file, Make sure you remember where it is. Find it in Finder now. And again, don't blame me or don't blame Genymotion if it changes. So now that we have the 2 disk files, we're going to actually go and install them. Okay, so I'm going to install VirtualBox first. Let's find it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay, so it's this. So we're going to highlight it, or however you want to do it. I highlight it to make sure it's correct. Then I'm going to double click it. Okay, there's a little cardboard box, which is your install. There's number 2, which is to run it from the applications folder. One good thing about doing Genymotion on the VirtualBox is once this is installed, we don't ever need to look at VirtualBox again. We don't care that it's on a computer. The only reason we care is that it's allowing us to run Genymotion. In other words, we never need to specifically run VirtualBox. Now, VirtualBox in and of itself can be used with other operating systems. Okay? So if you have other uses for VirtualBox, that's cool. But in the case of Genymotion, it will, I guess, auto-load VirtualBox by itself. So you don't need to do anything after once this is installed. You don't really ever care that VirtualBox ever existed, unless you're going to be doing other stuff. Okay. The intent of some of these things, by the way, is not to let people run Periscope on Android. It's just to get virtual machines going, especially for software developers. It becomes immensely easier to do your software platform development from one host, in this case OS X, or in the case of where you have a Windows machine and you load virtual computers on top of it. I've done some of that in the past, and it saved me hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So none of that's our concern at the moment. Our concern is just get VirtualBox up so we can get Genymotion up. So what we're going to do is take the cardboard box and we're going to open it. We're going to click it. So my point before was we're never going to do 2. We don't care about that. So it's going to run through some security stuff and tell us something's going to happen to a computer. Okay, we can just click continue. It's going to take so much space. I'm going to install. It's going to prompt for a password. You type in your own password. So whatever you normally use. It's going to go through a whole bunch of install stuff. This just takes a minute. If you have a slow computer, that's fine. But if it's taking half an hour, something went wrong. It says I have 5 minutes left, but I doubt it. So I ran through this before, and it took literally seconds. Actually, it is taking slower, but this will finish in a minute. Okay, and we're done installing VirtualBox, so we click OK. We get out of this thing here. Okay, now if you notice, let me bring the Finder so I don't have to move this over. Right here, see where it says VirtualBox and this little drive and this little thing next to it? Some of you may be familiar with this with iTunes with your phone. Okay, so the DMG file that I originally double clicked over here in blue that I highlighted, that loaded what's called the virtual disk. So the DMG file was actually a virtual disk drive that allows us to do the installation. So once you click a DMG, it installs it. It's mounted, right? The computer now thinks this, I have my real hard drive, and now there's another hard drive, which is the VirtualBox install. So we need to, we're going to eject it. So I'm going to click the little button there, and that's going to go away. So it dismounted this virtual drive. So we're done with that. Okay. So we saw the installation successful. Okay, again, you don't need to run VirtualBox ever again. It's now in your applications folder, where normally some of the main commands of OS X and stuff are. It's there. You could have installed it somewhere else, but this is just a conventional good place to do it in. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to install Genymotion by doing the same thing. We're going to take the Genymotion disk image, which is the DMG I told you to make the note of before. Let's see, it was dated November 27th. So it's here. Okay, so I'm going to double click that. That's also going to ask me some questions. Um, in this case, it's pretty simple. It brought up its own dialog box, and it wants me to just drag this Genymotion and this Genymotion shell both to my applications directory, my applications folder. It's that simple. Okay, so I'm going to click on Genymotion, then I'm going to drag it over and bop it in application. So that's there. There's also the Genymotion shell. That's going to take a few seconds. Okay, to run Periscope on the Android, on the Genymotion, on the VirtualBox, you do not need to touch the Genymotion shell. But we're going to install it anyway just for completion. Boink. Okay, so now we've put three things in the applications direct folder. Genymotion, Genymotion shell, which we'll never need to touch again, and VirtualBox again, which we'll never need to purposely touch again, at least for purposes of installing Periscope. So we're done with installing VirtualBox. We're done with installing Genymotion. So I'm going to X out of this. Boink. Okay. Same issue with Finder. It installed the Genymotion disk image, so there's a virtual disk drive there. So we're going to come in here, right there. It actually shows some of the folders on that virtual drive, and we're going to eject that. Okay. So now we're done installing VirtualBox. We're done installing Genymotion. So they're in the applications. We close them. Installation is complete. You don't ever need to run VirtualBox, and you don't need to run the shell if you don't need to. Again, some of these things are here for more advanced users and for people doing software development machines. So you can do things like outside the realm of normally pushing buttons like we do on our devices, on our tablets and phones. You can control the Android from a different port, so to speak. In other words, you can reboot it and do other stuff. All right, so now we're going to go back to Finder, okay, because we're going to run Genymotion itself. All right, so this might be a good point to stop and see if we have any questions about what we got so far. So we downloaded the two things we need to do the scaffolding for the Android, okay, and we install them. Everybody cool? Okay, so now we're going to load Finder. Okay, we're going to go into Applications. Okay, and we're going to look. So just to show, we have two things. We have Genymotion and Genymotion shell. Leave Genymotion shell alone. We have VirtualBox in Applications. Leave that alone too. Okay, so we're going to come up. We're going to double click Genymotion. It's going to bring up a cute little icon, or a cute little startup screen. I think it does the first time it asks me to, if I want to download an application from the internet. Yes, I do. Loading plugins. Okay, and here we are. We're at the moment of truth. So we have a virtual computer running underneath us, set up for the ready. Okay, what we don't have, the part we're still missing. Well, we're missing two parts. We're missing Periscope, and we're missing the Android virtual machine itself. So what we can do is add one on this thing right here. We're going to click on Add. It's going to give us, it's loading. It just went to the internet to the Genymotion server and loaded the virtual machines. So I've tried different ones, and some don't work and some do. So what I'm going to do is go down to 5.1.0 on the Android version here. It lets you choose the virtual machines from Android versions and from device models. Hello, I see some new people coming in. Welcome, welcome. We're live from New York. I'm envy this stuff, and we're trying to get a virtual Android machine installed live so that we can run Periscope. Oh yeah, lovely stuff. So I'm going to drop down the Android version and go to 5.1.0. It's going to give us a few. I'm going to click on the first one, which is a Google Nexus 7, Android 5.1.0, API 22, 80 times 1280. So I'm going to click on that, and at the bottom over here, I'm going to do Next. So what this is going to do is go to the Genymotion server and actually pull up the Android as a disk image on my computer. Okay, it's going to tell me some characteristics about what this Android virtual machine possesses, and I'm going to click Next. So I like what I see here, and I click Next. This is a Google Nexus 7-incher. So it's now going to the Genymotion server. It's pulling this bugger up. Sometimes this fails. Not necessarily right now at this point, but later on as you create new other virtual devices, it can fail often. I find just try again. They may have, I don't know, as we said in some other scopes on the other days, servers are messed up, communication's hard, and so be it. Anyway, so now it says finish. I have 100% here. So it successfully downloaded the Nexus 7 version machine. I'm finished. So now I have a virtual device here. I actually have a Google Nexus 7 in software form right now. Okay, so the stuff over here, I'm going to leave alone. And as I create other ones, and in this case we're not going to, but if you're using Genymotion to do other stuff and play around, and I would like people to play around because I want to find other better devices than the one I found here. I tried experimenting and permuting through stuff, and it just took way too much time, and it usually resulted in failure. So if somebody knows a lot about different Android machines, please email me at envythisstuff@gmail.com so I can try better ones. And I'll say this again later because I suspect there's a better version of Android, an Android match to this. In particular in terms of loading the Google Play Store. Because you can get the Google Play Store going, then you could just download Periscope from the Google Play Store instead of going through the little twist we're going to have in here. In any event, once you get your list of virtual devices here, you find your one to want, you click on it. So this is already highlighted because there's only one. And we go to this so-called play right arrow button, and there's the word start under that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to load and run this virtual computer Android. So we're going to be able to see Android loading right now. I'm going to click start. So it says initializing virtual device, starting a virtual device, and you're going to see your normal Android load up in a second. Okay, boink. Okay, we now have a virtual Android computer. It's running under OS X. Ta-da! Okay, I found doing this with this, again, because this is a sandbox system, this isn't anything from Google, and so on. Google has equivalent products, but they have other concerns. And by the way, the fact that we're not using a Google system is why we have to go through some of this. If it was actually a Google thing, I bet we would have be able to get Periscope directly. The problem with some of the virtual systems is because if I understand right, the licensing from Google doesn't allow some of the vendors to do certain things. So we're at this point. So Android successfully loaded, and it has your normal welcoming kind of thingy. So I'm going to click Got It over here, right here. Some of the virtual things have a few gots it. Depends how your Android thing is working. So now we have our main screen. We have some stuff on the bottom. Contacts, calendar, apps. I forget what that is. And that earthy looking thing is Google Chrome. We have some other stuff on the side. This apparently is Android's birthday. We have the gallery for our pictures and settings for the computer. So there's some stuff over here, which is Genymotion controls, but some of it taps into other things. For instance, to shut down this computer, we need to tap this little down-facing arrow at the very bottom here, and it gives us a power button that we hold down. That was a stopgap for me for a while. I couldn't see that damn thing for the life of me. So I was exiting the thing with using my normal OS X window exit thing, and I have a feeling that's what slowed me down when I was trying to permute through all the different virtual machines to find a good match for some of this. Okay, so let me just see if I'm at the right place in the instructions, because we have to do one thing, which is we're gonna allow a rogue website to download stuff. Let's see. Right, so if somebody knows of a better configuration than the one I'm providing and showing, including the when we get to download Periscope, please tell me. Okay, this I wasted hours and hours and hours trying to find that. Okay, we went through that. Again, if a step fails and done only from Johnny Motion Machine, do it again. We bring that, we click start. Okay, so now, by the way, now we have Android. So technically you can do this for other apps too. And again, the stopgap is I don't know how to get the right version of Google Play apps installed onto any of the Androids. It was often out of sync. So now what we're going to do is we're going to download Periscope. There is no Google Play Store. So again, this is what I just explained. I was able to go get some Google Play systems for some of the Androids. I couldn't get the exact match. Maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know. So if anybody knows, email me. So what we're going to do is load Chrome. So we're going to go back to the virtual Android machine. And by the way, your icons are here. So the pink one is Jenny Motion itself. That's the main home thing. You don't really need that. Yeah, I mean, you need it. If you X out it, you're going to kill your Android machine. Because this, I believe, is talking to VirtualBox. Okay? And then the white one with the infinity, right? That's your Android machine. So if I click on that, I bring the Android machine back up. So the blue icon is your Chrome. You're going to click on Chrome. And now it's talking through the internet. It's going to load a Google homepage. Does that make sense? Okay? So we have the Android machine working. It's connected to the internet. It automatically does that. So we're going to type in the box Periscope. Right? I'm not in my Safari browser or my Chrome browser on OS X. I'm doing it through Android. So I'm going to type Periscope space APK. Return. Okay. We can't use the first link here because that's the Google Play one. So it's going to tell us once we install it that it doesn't know what to do because there's no Google Play Store. And I think it's also going to tell us we have an unknown machine or something. So what I do, I'm just going to go to the very first one, which is 1.3.3.1, a version of Periscope, and I'm going to download that. So it's at a place called Android APKs Free, AndroidAPKsFree.com. So when I click on that, it's going to go to that site and download some stuff. It's not going to auto-download it. So let's let the page load a smidgen. This, I believe, is the latest version as of February. So if I move up just a smidgen, okay, when we get to this icon here, this says download APK from secure server. There's two there's a greater than sign, and it gives you a file 13.56 megabyte. Okay, this is just as true as downloading the version of Jenny Motion and downloading the version of Virtual Install. Whatever's the latest version, I'm assuming is going to be okay. Okay, if not, it says 1.3, but I think it's 1.3.3.1. Whatever it said in the Google page I just loaded. Yeah, in fact, it says it up here. It's 1.3.3.1 for Android 4.4. Okay, and we have Android 5.1. So it seems reasonable. Again, if somebody can match these up better, because it seems to me the APKs and so on are the interfacing into the right Androids is probably what's causing some of the bugs and other things that are happening. And perhaps including allow us to use the camera. Okay, because that's the major stopgap here. All right, so what we're going to do is download the APK. I'm going to click on this line right here. Okay. Okay, and if you notice at your top, up here, the little download bar is flashing. See it there? In fact, now it's actually there. So now we have Periscope downloaded. So we need to tell, we can do this one of two ways. One is we can just start installing Periscope and then setting the security settings, or we could just go now and install the security settings. Because we want to know that we're getting our software from a reliable source. So anyway, I'm going to X out of Chrome. I'm going to go to settings, the main gear right here. I'm going to click on that. It's going to bring up settings. Then I'm going to go to security over here and click on that. Okay, this right here says unknown sources. Allow installation of apps from unknown sources. Again, this is up to you to decide or not. I'm not telling you to install this application. I'm not telling you to download anything. So if you've gotten this far, you're apparently agreeing to go along with this ride with me. Okay, so we're going to come over here and click on this. Okay, it says your tablet and personal data are more vulnerable by attacks by apps from unknown sources. You agree that you are solely responsible for any damage to your tablet or loss of data that may result from using these apps. Right? It's talking about tablets because we're running a virtual machine right now, which is for the Google Nexus 7, which is a tablet. So I'm gonna click OK. You make a choice. Okay, because I'm gonna go through installing this to get Periscope running. Okay, I'm gonna click OK, and it moves my thing is now on. Okay, I'm done with security, so I'm gonna get out of there. Okay, I'm gonna come down. Whoop, yeah. See this main button here? This little round thing. I have an arrow, a round one, and a square one, right? Okay, so this goes back, this homes you, and this gives you your Android apps loaded up. We don't care about that. Anyway, there's this icon here now in the center. Okay, I think it looks like a button, and it is a button, but it looks like a button on clothing. So we're going to click on that white center button, and it's going to bring up your app list. Okay. So we're going to go into downloads, which is over here. Click on that. And it shows the thing we just downloaded from that site. Okay, so we're going to click on that file name. And it says, do you want to install this application? Again, you make your choice. I'm going through with the installation. I'm not telling you to click next or OK, but I am. So it tells me what this application does to your Android machine. It's going to use the camera and etc. 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 So I'm going to install it. Boink. It says installing. App installed. So I'm going to click done. I'm going to get out of downloads. Okay, I'm going to go back to the app button in the middle, the white thing, and then click that. And guess what? Periscope be there. There's Periscope right here. So now when you click on that, there she is, Periscope. So I don't want to go through the normal thing. I'm going to go in the corner over here. Whoops, it's not on the screen. It says skip, so I'm going to click skip. Okay, I'm going to sign on with my Twitter account. So I'm running Periscope. I'm going to sign on. Okay, I'm going to type my info here. And do this stuff. My password. You put yours, don't put mine. And if you know my password, hey, wait a second, that's bubbling up. Okay, I'm going to click Authorize App. And Periscope is now loaded. I'm live. Okay, do you see my hand there? I was just holding my hand over my live thing. Right? So it's showing my scope and the live box, so to speak. Okay, here's some of the other things. Okay, I follow somebody called Wholesale Harry. If you're not following, he's a pretty cool guy. Please follow his stuff. Okay, so if I come into here, the last time I clicked on a scope that I was scoping, there was an echo feedback that happened, and it freaked out. So let me try it. I'm going to actually click on, okay, so if you notice, it's going to go infinite. So I'm actually, from my phone, I'm viewing my computer scope, and it's showing it. Okay, so if I bring, okay, oh wait, I'm showing me. That's not good. Let's see how this is work. Well, you just saw me flash for a second. So here now we have Periscope running on our OS X. So let's go through some of this, see where we are. We did that, we did that, we did that, we did that, we did that. That's some details. Log on. Okay, so the mousing is similar. Let's do this. I'll go back to the Android virtual machine running Periscope. I'll get out of my own thing. What I'll do is I'll go into somebody else's. All right, this Chad Lindbergh, have no idea who he is. I guess he's trending. So actually, let's try somebody with less stuff, because normally it locks you out of seems to lock you out of using Periscopers with lots of followers. So there's lots of weird stuff on Periscope. This person's, let's see, yeah, let's click this guy. Okay, so that's somebody driving apparently, trying to reconnect. All right, so we're looking at somebody's live scope right now on my Macintosh, right? Who's driving around? Let me unplug my headset. Right, so we're listening to him. All right, blingy. All right, so that's running now. We're seeing that. So if we come here where it says say something, you just mouse over there and you click on it. And it does the normal stuff. You can type stuff. Like I'm going to type hi. Okay, once you type something, you don't hit return. If you come over here, there's that thing, you click that. Okay, so now my comment just got entered in here live. Okay? If I want to give this person hearts, I'm going to mouse click. See mine the pink? So I'm going to mouse click him. Hopefully nothing happens to him driving. So here we are. We're at the moment of truth. Okay? If I want to cut and paste something, I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to take hearts. I'm going to copy and paste it from my HTML page on my this instruction sheet. I'm going to copy it into my clipboard. I'm going to go back to this here. Okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to hold down my left mouse click. You notice that word paste just popped up there? So now if I click on the word paste, where'd it go? Right? It's going to post hearts. So I can cut and paste from there as well. So I'm going to enter hearts in there. So I gave him hearts with mouse clicks, and I gave him hearts by words. Alright? I can come up here and X out of it. Alright? I can go back to my home page to see what's going on. And there you shows it still has that teeny delay, and now it just brought me back up. Okay? So that's pretty much it. Okay, there's a few more details. So one is exiting virtual machine. So to get rid of Periscope, we can just go down to our home button here and get out of it there. Okay, to exit the virtual machine, we're going down to this little tiny arrow that's out of the way, and that kind of makes sense because you don't want to accidentally click it or whatever. And it's going to bring up a little thing. By the way, some of the icons are shaded out and some are whited. The shaded out ones means if you want to get more out of this Android virtual machine stuff, having nothing to do with Periscope, you'll pay to get a non-personal license and do it for software development or something. The white ones, we have volume control. We can flip our thing around by clicking that. So now we have a sideways one. So now if I come and load the apps thing from over here and download load Periscope that way. Okay, and by the way, this comes up often. Get Google Play services. Periscope won't run without Google Play services, which I'm missing. I'm just going to click get them, and it's going to bring up Periscope anyway. Okay, and it right orients it. So we can also, let's go back into somebody. This person's driving home. So it's going to download her. Right, I can take my thing on the side here and drag it. So she's getting larger. Okay, so I can go full screen. If I'm super busy, I can also take my screen and miniaturize it as small as I want. You still got a nice image there. She's still there. Okay. So if you want to make your real estate on your computer reasonable, right? You can have her do other stuff. Okay.
Mira, I'll be there in like 10 minutes.
So there's that. So if I want to shut down, okay, let me reorient it properly. If I want to shut down, I'm going to click this. If you notice, it brings up some more icons that we can do stuff with. If I just tap this, it's as if I turn my screen off, so it blocks it out. If I tap it again, it brings it back. So I'm going to hold it a couple seconds. Okay, and I may not have this perfectly. I can't figure it out exactly. This is it's not powering off. It's asking me. So what I need to do is tap it, and then it seems to stop powering off. Okay. The problem is it seems to just go to sleep or something. So what I notice is if I just tap it one or two more times, when it's finally shut down, it's going to bring up a dialog box for me to say okay with. Sometimes if I have to tap it one or two more times to wake it up or something. I don't know how it's to freeze it. And I don't think it's waking up the Android machine. It's waking up something else. Somehow the interaction between this and Genymotion. Okay, and there's probably some step I'm not aware of. So again, you can tap these to do your volume control as well. There's a battery icon, which we don't really care about. And there's a GPS thing, which I haven't played with and I generally won't care about. There's also the camera. So you can enable the camera to take pictures, and you have to set it up to allow Periscope to do it. Okay, so if you see, this is kind of just, okay, there you go. I had double click or something. So it says the virtual device has changed to powered off. Execution will stop, and I click OK, and I'm done. I'm out of my, so all I have left is the Genymotion home thing, which shows all my virtual devices. So I left the Genymotion virtual machine, and I just have the Genymotion sandbox infrastructure at the moment. Let's see, what else do I have here? Mousing, click on text on the comments box, icon next to the box emits test, mouse clock is right hand side of the entrance has okay. So the pros of the whole point of having done the installation, why was I doing the installation, is I can get Android running onto OS X. In our case, it was to run Periscope. Okay. One of the problems I'm having with running Periscope on my phone is the battery keeps dying. It's a resource hog. We just talked, I think it was the beginning of the scope, about how Android is wasting space. It also seems to eat the daylights out of your battery. I just showed you how to miniaturize the screen and drag it out and rotate it. So we have a larger screen. Whatever the size of your Mac is, if you have a big screen, then that's what you have. Okay. More philosophically, I can now use my phone and computer at the same time. So if I'm doing a scope, I don't necessarily need to be doing it on my phone anymore. Okay. Furthermore, if I want to watch the same scope on my computer and phone, I can do that, and I can switch back and forth. In particular, I can have X scopes running at once, 2 different ones. Okay. There's also the teleport feature on this version. When there's no live thing that I'm following with somebody, it gives me the capability to click on what they claim is the top scoping scope at the time. But I don't think it does that. But it's still cool to just bop into somebody's scope and see what's going on. Some people are doing ridiculous stuff, and some people have nice stuff. So one of the nice things about this is if you're doing your own scope, you don't need to have a volunteer secretary active during the scope. What do I mean by that? I've been watching scopes where where somebody seems to, if the scope says like go to jennymotion.com, somebody kind of de facto volunteers, like they'll type in the website names and things like that. Or if it's like envythisstuff@gmail.com, somebody will type that in. So now while you're scoping, let's say I scope from my phone, okay, I can now set up this Jenny Motion virtual Android and type whatever I need to type into my listeners. So if I'm going to send them to a certain website, I can type it myself now because I can log in with my phone and log in through the virtual computer. Okay, so there's that. So if you're giving the URLs or something, right, I can do that. So again, to cut and paste, you go to where you want to do, you copy it from wherever it is, and then you do your left mouse click. Okay, whatever that equals on your machine. You have to hold it down a couple seconds, and it brings up the paste thing, and sometimes you get the icons on top, copy, cut, paste, all that kind of stuff. So it depends on what app you're running and so on. And then you click on the paste and it'll paste it for you. Okay, you can rotate it, that sets you up. Okay, the cons here. This thing does crash. It already crashes on your phone and your tablets already. It's not scientific. This application even seems like it's really not ready for prime time. I'm not talking about the Jenny Motion thing and stuff I just showed you. Just Periscope in and of itself. It almost seems like they're running a test. So it seems to crash more in this, but I'm saying it's non-scientific because that might just be when it's crashing on me most. It may have nothing to do with running under OS X, but it just seems that that's the case. And I might be wrong, but it seems my lag is a slight more too. Okay, here's the big killer. There's no cam yet. Okay. Also, sometimes when you're replaying a thing, I haven't had this happen on the phone, but when I play it through Jenny Motion, it goes like this. It's not necessarily slower, but it's as if you slowed down the scope. It sounds humorous, and you can still hear the person perfectly, right? Okay, and the biggest con is there's no Google Play setup. We still downloaded Periscope directly by itself. We didn't download anything else. Okay, there's also errors that come up when you're running Periscope. Certain errors come up. It'll just crash and so on. Just reload it. It seems to happen in seconds, so be it. So I'm still eager to hear of other ways to get Periscope running, particularly matching it up to the right version of Android. I'm not convinced I've done that, and I'm not convinced anybody else has either, because I did a lot of Googling. I'm still interested in people getting the cam working. Okay, so as I said, when I click on doing the scoping, or as I can show you, so if I run this virtual machine, yeah, if you can. Any suggestions? To me, I feel this is just the start. There's got to be other ways to do that. So if you come over here and we click on the cam, we turn it on, and I'm going to set the front camera. It comes up with a dummy. Wait, I just turned it off again. Comes up with a dummy. I'm going to set to webcam 0, my back camera to webcam 0. Whereas if I preview, okay, I have none. I'm going to do a front here, so you can see me there. Okay, so if my camera's enabled over here, if I load Periscope now, actually let me get out of the preview. So there's my camera light just went off. Yeah, BlueStacks works on here, but from what I was able to get from the internet, people are still not able to match it right onto OS X. So again, if somebody wants to try this, please do. I couldn't get a match going, although I didn't do BlueStacks. So let me run Periscope. So down here is your broadcast button. If you notice, I'm going to put this at the top. My Did you see? Just see the light go on, and then Periscope crashes. Okay. You also, if you just saw it for a second, it looked like it was up on a 100-degree angle. Bling, can you say that again? I missed it while I was doing this. So in any event, I can't figure out how to get the camera running. Bling, repeat what you said the last thing. It flew past. It seems if you have the APK stuff is too old for the Android, it gets out of sync. Or if it's too new, maybe that's the problem. Because I tried to match them to the right versions, and that didn't seem to work. So I tried to match them to the versions they weren't. So in other words, if I'm using the Play stuff from years ago, and I have a very updated Android, like 6.0 or something, I would assume that would work, but it doesn't seem to be. And the opposite way too. So if I have an older Android with the newer APK stuff, I would assume that wouldn't work because the new API features in the APK wouldn't be there. So I tried it with the right versions, or what I thought were the right versions, and then mismatched in both directions, and I couldn't get one that was reliable. And I suspect that might be why the camera doesn't work. And by the way, if for anybody who's going to replay this, Genymotion does keep a log file. I haven't actually really looked at it. Okay. Also on the OS X? It's what I had was able to read it. It was not able to do it reliable. But who knows? You know, they're always releasing other versions. And some of the stuff on the internet is even though Periscope is only about a year old, is already pretty outdated. So so it could be as. Oh, really? Oh, so maybe this whole process could have been easier. And in any event, this is one way to do it. What often happens is, because I was just going to say Periscope may have fixed some bugs and so on, but what I have done Linux for years on different stuff. Uninstall several games with plays at full speed. Yeah, I'm certain they would. The virtual machines are pretty good. As I was just saying, I had done Linux on some machines because I used to do software development years ago, and they were pretty efficient. But often what would happen with bugs is the different people providing them would leapfrog each other. You know, 1 month one would be the best to use, and the next month the next one would be the best to use, and you would be switching which one you were using. The names escape me at the moment, but I use Parallels often. There was there was even Wine, WINE, which is not really a virtual machine, but it piggybacks onto the API for the system calls and so on. There was another one. You know what? It may be an earlier version of VirtualBox. I don't even remember. And I think there's another one or two of them as well. And even Microsoft at one point, I think, was involved with some of it, including on the Windows, which I think they've removed as products at this point. So they're always leapfrogging each other. So let me see what else I have in my notes. So it's the cam thing. So I'm Envy This Stuff. People can reach me at envythisstuff@gmail.com. This is my YouTube channel, which has this beautiful name right here. That's also listed in my Periscope profile for anybody who just wants to click on it. I need to pursue that too. I think you need to have be a member for a year or something. Even though my YouTube channel has been around for a couple of years, it's been pretty much defunct. Also, what I'd like to do is make a note to James Windsor. I think that's how you say it. He's on Periscope at Windsor. He, I believe, I was able to find out, was the first person to ever connect at least this way of doing it all together. So, kudos to him, because it was bad enough that I guess he went through the same painful procedure I was going through. So, all right, Bling has been pretty quiet, so let's see what Bling has to say. You said you're going to hold off on questions. I don't really care if you did or not. But so some of them may have gotten answered. And if you have any other ideas, other ways to do this, because this is the way I found. That doesn't mean it's the best way, and it doesn't mean it's the only way. Everybody's still there? My phone was just alarming or something. So, in any event, we got Periscope running, and it's pretty cool. That way, if I'm doing something on my phone, because I do eBay stuff on my phone and other things and stuff. Obviously, I do it on the computer too, but sometimes I need multiple screens, and even though I have multiple computers too. Journey Motion is so much slower than ViewStacks, but other than that, all seem well. Okay. All right. All right. So this took, I'm not sure what time we started. Maybe it was 20 after, so this took 50 minutes. All right. And if anybody has any problems installing it, if you follow these instructions, first of all, again, I posted on my Twitter account a link to this document we just scrolled through. So if some parts I didn't read it literally completely, okay. So if anybody wants to see that document, go into my Twitter feed, okay, from about 1:30 on Friday, May 25th, and find it. Okay, it's a Google Drive link to a PDF file, and you can follow it while you're watching the video, or you can just follow it by itself. There's a lot of talking. When I mocked it up earlier, it was only about 10 minutes long. So no, where is the March update? You know what happened? I got so tedious trying to do the Google Play stuff that at the end, when I finally found this way, I kind of conked out. So I gave up looking and trying different permutations. How do I obtain the latest one like that? At least through a third party, because it doesn't seem like it's coming from that. Oh, I see. Okay, I thought you meant you had it. Anyway, for anybody who want to try to do it, if you run into any stop gaps, again, because people might be looking at this video. Right, okay. People might be looking at this video in 2 months or something when I'm going to post it on YouTube. So if you have any questions, email me at envythisstuff@gmail.com. I'll try the best I can. I'm not an Android expert. I'm a technical person and a geek, but I don't really spend a lot of time with Android. I have tablets and things like that, but from a development and internals, in Android internals, I'm not your person. All right. All right. So I think we're done. So hopefully everybody is able to get things going nicely with this. And it's not the best thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. This is one way to do it. There's probably other ways to do it. And as things evolve, including from Periscope themselves, I can't really understand why they don't have this available directly on Windows and Linux and OS X. They must have their reason. That just similar to the reason why they seem to be having bugs that have been pretty much known from the get-go that it exists. So it's kind of a weird situation. Just quickly, I'll mention though, you can mirror, and maybe I'll do another scope about this at some other time. You can mirror, at least on the OS X, you can mirror your phone onto your Mac OS X by loading QuickTime and then recording it from QuickTime from there by plugging your phone into your computer. So you can get a full screen scope going that way too. It'll be a mirror though. It'll be exactly what's happening on your phone. Okay? So that's a little different. Also, if people don't know, you can go into your computer and go to periscope.tv, and if you know the person's username, you can see what their last 24-hour scopes are, and do that. In fact, it's my understanding that a lot of people are looking at Periscopes not live and not on their phone, but through this anonymously on their computers, which is fine. We're not here just to get names and so on. We're here to make sure information is distributed throughout and so on. So, but it seems to me if there's that many people, if I understand right, there's 24 million Periscope users. I could have that number wrong. It seems to be stuck in my head, which is still a pretty small number. So as it grows and so on, people are going to be wanting this. And in my Googling for how to do this, there are people wanting it. So let's see how that goes. So again, you can do this. You can do it through your browser, and you can do the mirroring technique. I'm certain the mirroring technique also works under Windows. Thanks for all the hearts. All right, live from New York, and I was able to get this up and running. My phone didn't crash. Periscope didn't crash. Android didn't crash. OS X didn't crash. My browser didn't crash, and I didn't crash. All right. Hopefully people find this useful. I found it useful, which is why I thought it was worth passing on. We were supposed to actually have a thunderstorm through this talk. It seems to probably have bypassed us. So I'm going to scope out. Peace out, everybody. Take it easy, Noam. Enjoy.